expect as soon as the Danny Wagner thing came on, the use of the poem "In Love" with Dagonet and Guinevere. So I wasn't as impressed with the usage of Danny Wagner in this play as I was in the previous three, just because I called that poem right for it. But maybe it's because I'm familiar with your work. The it was a well done usage, but I think that you're at your best in these plays when you're concentrating mainly on the characters. The Great Watcher thing, I think, works best when it's almost seen as just a figment of Merlin's psyche. I think that aspect wasn't as needed in this play, especially with everything going.
Well, I think this play uses it the least. Because it has so much of the other stuff into it.
It had a lot going on at any given time. I do want to ask you before we move on to the fifth play, if there's any other Arthurian retellings that you think are any good outside of your own work.
Well, I mean, the best is probably Sir Gawain and the Green Knight in terms of one individual work. The best compendium in terms of all of the mythos is Thomas Mallory's La Morte d'Arthur. There are some other interesting ones. The modern translations. There are minor knights. One of the minor knights that I had, I think, in the second play is the guy who wins the jousting tournament, Sir Eric, who we only hear about in that sort of sports scene at the bar. And there's Eric and Enid. There's a poem about Sir Eric and Enid, and I don't remember which ancient scribe wrote that play, that poem, but that's an interesting one. What happened was a lot of the earlier courtly romances and poems got swept aside once British writers, I think it was with the beginning of what they call the Vulgate cycle, started reusing some of the things and using specifically English characters. A lot of the Arthurian myth was told by German and French writers, because you have to remember the English, the Germans, and the Franks are all basically descended from Germanic tribes, with the exception of the Celts, who aren't actually Germanic. The Celts who were on the British Islands before, and most of them moved over to Ireland, although most Irish probably have Germanic blood in them. So anyway.
I'm not as familiar with the Arthurian mythos as you are. I remember there was some kind of early 90s miniseries about Arthur. I remember watching it. I was quite excited to watch it when I was 4 or 5 years old. And then I remember rewatching it at 12 or 13 and realizing it was total shit. The other one was John Steinbeck's work, and it was probably one of his driest books.
What was that, a Canadian production? Because I don't remember any big miniseries.
Yeah, I think it was a Canadian production. I vaguely think it may have had Sam Neill in it, but I can't be sure.
As Arthur, I would assume. Like Sam Neill as Arthur, I would assume, right?
Yeah, but I can't remember exactly who the actors was. That's just the first actor that pops into my head. It was absolute garbage. But that and John Steinbeck are the only ones, and I remember always thinking that the character of Merlin could be used in sort of a Billy Pilgrim sort of way, and it seems like that's the trajectory that you've taken it in some aspects at least, but you've also made him a fully realized character, using the Danny Wagner to sort of make the audience empathize with him, and him sort of being a character that's out of his time, even though he came from an earlier time.